There's been an occurrence last week to a very famous British YouTuber. His YouTube name is Young Philly, and Ibrahim. This case, let me tell you what has happened. Yeah. So Young Philly, famous British YouTuber, traveled to Australia to perform and do some media tour or something like this. After one of his club showings, he took a girl back home, and the next morning he was arrested from that other state, transferred back to the state that he just left to be put in jail because he's now being charged for sexual assault. I think it was 4 counts of forceful penetration, 3 counts of... The charges were super specific. The police claimed that they have video footage of the occurrence as well, and he has been charged to court. Now, the first hearing, he was granted bail under the condition that he does not leave Australia. He doesn't post or say anything about the case on his social media channels. And I think the name of the girl is Emma something, I can't remember now. But basically, Philly is now going to have to wait in Australia until they can fully air the case and make judgment. Philly is a very outgoing guy. He has a lot of friends in the YouTube community, especially in the UK. So you've got Chunks, you've got the Sidemen, you have Ari Pinero, the Beta Squad. All these guys, they all work with Philly. They're actually friends. They're like brothers, yeah. And everyone has been waiting for their reaction to what has happened. I think Sidemen pulled down some of the videos that they did together with Philly. We don't know why they have done that yet, but that has happened. And some YouTubers have started, giving their predictions of what will happen. Some people have completely said he's guilty. What do you think about the whole situation and the reaction of some people? Yeah.
I think this is a lot similar to, not entirely the same, right? With the Diddy situation, in talking about, accusations and the differentiation of that, also from a guilty person. And it has become the norm now that everyone accused of something is automatically a guilty person. And that's quite sad. And anyone who even tries to think otherwise, at least openly on any social media platform, I can imagine, is already also looked like a criminal, right? It's like, if you just try to say like, oh, but at least it's not this, it's not that. Now I'm commenting because I'm not sure who you said took down the post, because I also know of this guy called Pieface, and Aaron Hunt or whatever also took down. They had like this Young Philly sort of episode that he featured on their podcast. They took down all the episode that Young Philly was on. And for me, I'm like, let's for a second assume all these accusations are true, right? But it's not guilty. Why are we excited to cancel people, even some wrongdoings in the past that you already apologized for, like you are sorry that isn't you anymore? But it seems like we are living in a world where it's not forgiving, and it's looking for slightest thing to just ruin what you've worked so hard for in your life.
Yeah, I think I found it a little bit. I was one like the Sidemen situation, for example. So Sidemen is the group with KSI and I've forgotten the names of the others, but these British guys, they were like the biggest YouTube group in the UK. Then Beta Squad, I think, is right after them or something. But you see, I'm with you on the point of, why do you already have to act when you don't know what has truly happened?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's innocent, but at the same time,
we will leave that to the future, right?
We cannot say that is guilty. Exactly. So basically, you have heard the news, but you know nothing. That's basically how I feel. I know what the police are saying, but the police, it's not new that there's a court case that maybe it's a lie. I think the Neymar one is the best example that I can give, because there was video evidence as well proving that Neymar was innocent. But it became a court case. Neymar was arrested. It became publicized, almost ruined his career as well. And turned out, the video came out that Neymar really tried to protect himself, and this girl kept on pushing, basically almost as if to set him up. Now, I'm not saying that's what has happened with the Philly thing, yeah, but I'm saying if that is a possibility, regardless of what we've heard, we have to assume that we don't know anything. So why do you have to act? And I say this because the sidemen, some people said they took it down to protect him, because the video that they made together was this, I think it was something like 20v1, where Philly had to choose between girls, and they didn't want videos where he was being funny and, playful with girls.
Well, isn't that also a problem? Like revisiting
so they're
they're now using it to judge like his current action.
They didn't want to, exactly. They didn't want people to watch the past content and think, oh, he gave that vibe, or he didn't give that vibe. And that's what some people have said as an explanation for why sidemen took out. But I would still have suggested that it was better to not act until you know more. And even if the outcome is that he's guilty, then you go with that. Even if you think you know that he's innocent, but the court outcome is that he's guilty, you can still work with that, because you're a business at the end, and maybe people still have to feed from you. But at this point, you can always say, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the girl, I'm not saying he's innocent, but I also cannot say that he's guilty. But it's possible that he has done it. It's also possible that it's a setup. It's also possible that it's a lie. Every possibility is still open. The police have said we have video evidence, but you have not seen it. It could still be that it does not mean anything.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate that a person's life can get ruined just with something like this. People have even been calling out Chunks. Like, oh, what are you going to say now? Oh, what's happening to Chunks and Philly podcast? There's so much about it. And I just wish people would, because again, the court is not allowing Philly to make any social media video, any post about this situation, because they claim that if he makes a post, he could potentially influence the people. So they're saying you cannot come out to talk about your innocence. You cannot. Exactly. Yeah, like it's almost like it's unfair in a way, because
it's not
one story we get
exactly
one story is getting propagated over and over again, and the other side where the court is just saying we don't want to hear it. We don't want you to say anything to anyone. But the other story, you already put it out.
Like, could you, if you would
like, where's the fairness in this case?
Could you think of any way that you could use his influence? Because I also read about, like, before they could grant him bail, they said something about like using his influential status to sort of influence the decision. So they didn't want to grant him bail. And I'm like, how can he do that? How do you think he could do that?
They don't want him to post
like what
about it. They don't want him to say anything about it. And that's what I'm saying. It's almost as if they need the public to be continuously outraged against him. They need the public to be against him for them to have a case. Because they are saying, no, maybe I'm not a lawyer. Maybe I don't understand this thing properly.
Because that's what I'm
but
trying
I would love for people to, teach us what we are not understanding here. Because from my perspective, you are right. To me, it seems like they are trying to prevent him from sharing another side to the story, because they need the public to be outraged, to be against him for a case to be valid.
Yeah.